This is Power Athlete Radio. With your hosts, Denny K, Professor Booty, and the Luke Summers. And now, toes forward, hips locked, shoulders set, and retract those scapulars. It's time for some knowledge bombs.
What's up, Power Athlete Nation? Welcome to episode 75 of Power Athlete Radio. We got a good one for you today. Jedd Johnson's our special guest, the grip master, the main dude from the Diesel crew. What's happening, brother?
Yo, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, I kind of stole your line, didn't I?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's called gimmick infringement. I just want you to know that.
That's a trademark violation. Make it a letter.
And of course, we got our Power Athlete coaches, John, Luke, Tex, and Callie. How you guys doing? That's not trademark infringement.
Yeah,
What's up, guys?
1999 here right now.
Ooh, you're in the new millennium.
Yeah,
Who's AP?
that was only like 2 years ago, wasn't it?
No, what's that?
It feels like it was only 2 years ago.
Are you serious?
I think it's on. I'll bet
lasted a decade.
I'll bet you $10, Callie, here on the air on the real radio. There's a WhatsApp commercial this Super Bowl.
Of course, it's a throwback.
So is that a bet?
It's vintage. It's vintage. First
10
of all,
pounds, 10 greenbacks,
you
can you handle
don't, you don't even have $10.
Wait, whoa. Let's just start what year that was, because I'm thinking it was within the last couple of years. Was that like 10 years ago?
I remember it came out when I worked at a company.
We are supposed to save this information.
Yeah, we'll save this.
Yeah, this is for the useless information nobody cares about section.
Yeah, let's put that to the end. We don't want to get hate mail about bullshitting around.
All right, so episode 75, damn. What is that? What's 75, what's like the term for that?
325s?
No, well, bicentennial's 50, right?
No, well, bicentennial would
Half.
Don't look at me.
Half of a century.
be half of a
Half of a
century.
century.
Whereas a
So I'd call that
centennial.
50. Okay.
Wait,
Keep
actually,
going, John.
I'm sorry. A bicentennial's 200 years.
Shit.
50's golden. 50's
Yeah.
golden, right?
Yeah, so
Golden.
if something's like a bicentennial, that would be 2 centennials.
Luke is Googling it, and the word that came up was Jubilee.
Would be a half a centennial. How about 3/4 centennial?
It doesn't matter.
Three-quarter
Irrelevant.
centennial show.
Boom! It is a Titanium Jubilee, a celebration of the 75th or 100th anniversary.
Welcome to Power Athlete Radio's Titanium Jubilee show.
You just lost a viewer.
Yeah.
Special guest Jedd Johnson.
Oh, man.
So yesterday, Jedd, you and I got a chance to talk for like a good hour. Why don't we? I'm sure a lot of our listeners are familiar with you. We've Bobby Goodfellow's been on the show before, and we talked a little bit of grip training. Your name was brought up numerous times, but maybe for those listeners who aren't aware of who you are, you can just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and the Diesel crew.
Yeah, man, for sure. Again, thanks for having me today, guys. Appreciate it. I run dieselcrew.com, and basically I started Diesel Crew with a guy named Jim Smith back in like 1999. We came out with a website in 2003. He's since started his own website, so Diesel Crew is now just me. So I'm like the one-man crew. The site is dedicated to all forms of strength training, muscle building, things like that, but it's pretty much whatever I'm doing at the time the most that gets the most attention. But it's no one thing in particular, but over the years I've done lots of different kinds of training and competitions. Strongman, I'm most well known for grip and feats of strength. I've done powerlifting meets, things like that. So I just like to lift mainly, and like to write and do videos and things like that.
So during our conversation, I had asked you maybe for like some tips on grip training for like field sport athletes. And when we kind of started shooting ideas of how that conversation would go, you had mentioned, first of all, that there was two types, in your opinion, there was like two types of training. You called it an integrated approach compared to like more of a classical approach, right?
Yeah, there's a few terms. The main two terms that you and I covered were grip isolation and grip integration. So basically what the difference there is, I'll give you some examples. If somebody wants to like get certified on closing a gripper, then they need to work on grippers specifically. So that is grip isolation. It's working on the crushing aspect of grip. So you're isolating the grip itself. There's very little going on with the body, okay? With grip integration, you're doing some form of training where you're working either your whole body or a large portion of your body, but the grip strength component, the hands, are being challenged further than normal. So an example would be pull-ups. You have to hold the bar in pull-ups, but the main objective with pull-ups is building up the back, shoulders, and arms. But you can turn the pull-up into more of a grip strength challenge by using thick bars, doing it on an axle, doing the pull-up on a rope, things along those lines. It intensifies how hard the grip has to work in order to complete the pull-ups. So that becomes more of a grip integration exercise because you're training it at the same time as you are training your body. I mean, sure, the grip gets worked a little bit, to a degree when you're doing pull-ups anyway. But when you start doing pull-ups on a kettlebell, for instance, instead of just a bar that you can wrap your hands around really easily, the grip gets worked much harder. So that's the idea of grip integration.
Would you say that there's like kind of a separation with the grips in terms of like muscle contraction, the idea that your grip integration is more of an isometric hold versus the other, the crushing, which would be that eccentric concentric? Could you break it up in terms of like, hey, you know what, like your strength and your ability to hold something in that isometric contraction, that ability to kind of squeeze and create force is kind of a different style of training, or more importantly, there's kind of a different focus, and what you're looking to do is create almost a complete system?
Well, the way I would refer to that is it's a different discipline of grip. So grippers is considered crushing, and it's kind of a dynamic finger dominant exercise. So you're crushing you're closing your fist, if you will, against the resistance of the gripper. So that's crushing. If you're just holding something in an isometric hold, then that's called supporting, and they're entirely different. Even though you're working the same exact muscles, the same your fingers and thumbs, your hands, or you're using the same sets of muscles and joints, the way that you train those is going to strengthen your hands differently. So in other words, you may be strong enough to pull 500 pounds with one hand in a one-hand deadlift on a regular barbell, but that does not guarantee that you're going to be able to close any gripper whatsoever. Gripper training is specific to gripper training. Support grip training is specific to support grip training, and if you get too far away from either the joint angles or the movement properties of the lift, then that specificity is lost very, very quickly.
So what key factors are there for really developing grip strength? I mean, I know just reading, some child development stuff that the Russians put out from, I think, the 50s and the 60s, they talked about being able to develop grip strength up until the age of about 18 or 20, maybe even 22. And after that, they felt that you couldn't develop grip strength past a certain point, and that most of that training had to happen at a very young age, and that's why they used a lot of grip-intensive stuff, especially with their younger athletes. And I never really bought in 100% into that. The idea, I think their idea was that, grip is very CNS intensive, and that ability to generate force and crush something, maybe goes back to central nervous system efficiency. So have you ever seen anything where people can gain grip strength at a younger age and maybe not develop it at such a later or more advanced stage?
No, I'm not familiar with that study, and I actually totally disagree with that. There's plenty of grip competitors that are well over the age of 18 that are constantly improving their grip performance all the time. So, I actually see no limits to the age where you can improve your grip strength, because we have competitors that are doing it all the time, and they're well in their 60s. So,
Yeah, it's one of those things that I read and I thought it was kind of bullshit. I'm like, I don't know if I buy into that one, because thinking about, well, you can continue to get stronger, you can continue to create central nervous system efficiency, hypertrophy, and all those key factors into advanced years. So the idea that your ability to generate force within your hands is limited after a certain age never really kind of made a lot of sense to me. So I always wanted to meet somebody that had done a ton of grip training and was pretty extensive with it. I think I never asked Bobby on it, so you're probably a better one.
It defies everything I know about dad strength, too. Like the weird grip strength that you...
Well, dad strength is all predicated on this. Well, it's this...
As a father, John.
As a father, yeah, of girls. I think dad strength is predicated on this thing where, like, you probably never want to show weakness to your offspring, so therefore, like, you will harness some interior strength to make shit happen. But
is that like a mother picking up a car off a kid?
That was, well, I don't...
No, because I think dad strength could do that, but dad would be like...
They die. Whereas mom's strength comes from the fact that, like, she's probably more pissed off that the kid's getting dirty more so than the car's on top of her. Like, my kids are covered in dirt all the time, and so my wife would probably, like, pull the car off them just to scold them for getting marker on their clothes. So maybe that's where mom's strength comes from. But
successfully derailed.
When I was in college, we had God, I cannot remember what the name of them were, but they're basically like an apparatus. You squeeze it and it measures your grip strength.
Oh, that starts with a T. What is that?
Jedd.
Is it a dynamometer?
Yeah, you squeeze it and it's like pounds per square inch of your grip.
Yeah, for short they use the word dyno, but it's actually dynamometer. There's lots of them out there, and they're actually pretty cool devices, but they're expensive as hell.
So in college we had those, and my strength coach, that was how he would test whether or not we were recovered or not from workouts. So you came in, and there was either two tests. There was either a vertical jump test, and we had baselines for all this, and the grip stuff. And so if you came in and all of a sudden you'd squeeze and you were within a standard deviation, you were good to go. If somebody came in and they were just completely off the radar, they were fried.
Yeah.
My coach was pretty sharp in that. He's like, we might have to trim some stuff back and look at a little recovery. And then of course it always predicated on, like, we would do them on Fridays. And what's National Drinking Night in college? Thursday
Every
night.
day? Oh.
Monday through Friday.
Well.
Days that ended
Day drinking Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, for us at Berkeley, it was Thursday night was our big go out night. So we would come in and our coach would be like, go get the dynamometer, and we would squeeze it. And, like, if we were super far off, he was either like take a recovery day, or if he knew you were fucked up, he would like punish you.
Give you a beer.
Be like, let's go outside. We're gonna fucking torture. So it was a pretty interesting deal, especially, and also vertical jump. That ability to generate vertical displacement was another one. And
Jedd, what do you think about using that as, like, an extrapolation for your ability to put force on an object that given day? Do you think that that's like a pretty valid testing? Way.
Recovery.
Yeah.
And, like, performance.
Yeah, I think so. As long as every time the guy grabs it, you've got the handle in the right spot or in the same spot, because those handles a lot of times will swing and then and adjust. So if you just throw it at them and it's a different grip position from last time and they don't remember where it was, the numbers are going to change.
Okay.
The other thing is, how greasy are your hands? Did you let him use chalk last time? Now he's got salve on his hand or something like that. That can all throw that stuff off. But as long as those variables are kept consistent, I think it's a pretty good thing. Especially because it's primarily an isometric, and there isn't a great deal of technique that's involved. So yeah, for sure.
So, like, about a month ago when I went and saw Hercules at a drive-in theater, when you go into the concession stand, they have a few arcade frickin' games there, and the one I always see is, like, the frickin' grip one.
Yeah.
How accurate is one of those, man? I mean, you walk up to those and just freaking crush it? Or does it tell you, like, when you give it a good squeeze, it kind of keeps you in the weakling area of the freaking scale?
Well, I can tell you that those are way off because I always suck at those. But here's the thing.
It's kind of like those freaking where you hit the you got the sledgehammer and you hit the base and it rings that bell. I mean, if anybody has
that's accurate. That's accurate.
Anybody has any carny experience? I mean, the way you hit those things is like the very edge of the left, like pedal, whatever you want to call that, and you'll ring the bell if you hit it there. Anywhere else, you won't. You heard it here first, people.
That's bullshit. I
need some stuff.
No, Danny is the carny.
Well, it's so crazy.
In my past life, I was a carny.
Now's a good time to really disclose where we found Callie at a carnival as the bearded woman. Remember that, John?
No, I thought she was the foot binding.
Yeah, same
the
thing.
Foot binding?
No, I was the first combo. Bearded, foot-bound.
Yeah, bearded, yeah. Well, actually, Denny, they had to outlaw those. They took them all away because Jedd went around and shattered all of them. He just ripped it clean off.
Just crushed it.
Yeah.
That's because I got pissed when I got a poor score and just smashed them.
No score, don't smash!
Smash.
Just fucking smash that thing into oblivion.
So, dude, what's the grip sport like? I mean, I researched a few videos of you. Do you still hold the world record for 257 pounds on that pinch?
I don't hold it anymore. A dude beat me in December of 2012, and then somebody else beat him earlier this year. I think it was in February. But my top record on that was 268, and then the record right now is 271.
So you're close.
Oh yeah, I'm still close. It's just training to get it back, but not all competitions have that event in them. And the last time that I competed on that, it's called the two-hand pinch, by the way. The last time I competed on it, I had this nasty cut on my thumb, and it opened up, so it kind of took away quite a bit of my pinch potential.
Was the cut from kipping pull-ups?
No, I got to tell you, I've never done those.
That's a joke.
I know. The cut was just from training it. It's funny. I don't know if you guys run by this at all. Had this happen, but I'll go in spurts where my skin doesn't tear at all, and then all of a sudden, every single workout I hit the weights, my skin tears. So it gets to be pretty frustrating. I've gotten into wearing gloves to protect the area on my thumb so that it doesn't happen.
Is it something where your hands get real dry and they split, or your hands get kind of soft and wet and they tear?
Dude, I'll tell you, it's almost like I'm lacking something in my diet or something for a period, and like the skin, like the continuity of the skin matrix or whatever it is, just is lost, and
it's
a while.
Elasticity. So basically you're losing some of the elasticity of the skin.
Yeah, it's a real weird deal. Like right now I'm going through it actually. I've cut the last 2 training sessions, and I'm only hitting it once a week, and I had no problems up until last week, and then I cut again this week. So
do you do anything different with your diet, or is there like any other factors? Because like a classic one is people, and this is kind of a little off base, but like when people go into a pool and all of a sudden your hands prune, people always think that it's like your skin getting waterlogged. It's actually a neurological reaction to being in the water, and that pruning increases your grip.
What?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So
it makes you more grippy on slippery surface.
It makes look it up.
Evolutionary trait.
Doing it right now, but
Still
it's
looking for nutrients.
So
I'm thinking like
collagen, things in your diet that help produce collagen.
Yeah, I mean,
help with elasticity.
So your body's pretty interesting in that, like, you put it in different environmental deals and it'll react. So, I mean, skin, you think as people age, they lose collagen in their face. I mean, people in Newport Beach get it injected. They actually steal it from young children and then they inject it into their faces so they live off the fat of the young. But
just think about that. This is the weirdest
I wonder
thing.
if, like, that's kind of interesting. Like, all of a sudden, that you would be able to notice, like, certain changes within your skin at certain points in your training. I mean, it could be anything from, like, diet, sleep, overtraining. I mean, climate, psoriasis or something. I mean, we had a guy, Jesse Gray, that trained with us who developed really bad psoriasis and ended up like fucking killing his training. His hands, he had to wear like white gloves. He couldn't walk because his feet were cracked. He couldn't make it to work. And then he ended up moving, and it kind of like subsided. It just kind of like came up and then went away. And it all sparked on. He moved in an apartment that had a bunch of fleas. And he didn't know it. He put his bed down, set it up, moved into this guy's house, and was like sleeping and woke up, and he had like 300 flea bites all over his body. He like came in, and I saw it, and I was like, "What the fuck?" He's like, "Dude, I think there was fleas or something in the place," and like they attacked him. And then from then on, he had like these crazy fucking problems where it was like like. It was such a shock to his immune system that he ended up developing this psoriasis, and he was messed up for like 2 years because of it. And I think he ended up outgrowing it. But fucking crazy. So don't ever find somebody on Craigslist to live with.
Hey Jedd, are those competitions? And forgive my ignorance, but are they drug tested?
No, not at this point. I don't know of any grip contests that have ever been drug tested in the United States.
Yeah.
Are drugs a big problem in the grip competitions?
Not that I know of, man. I mean, there's speculation about people. I mean, I've had people tell me that so-and-so is on drugs or whatever, steroids, but, like, it just doesn't matter to me. They can do what they want to.
Would it be that significant of a...
Well, what about cocaine? I wonder if cocaine... I mean, when you said drugs, I was thinking, like, people are, like, coked up, and they're like, fuck yeah! And they run over there, and they fucking rip some shit, and it pulls their arms off. But, I don't know. Maybe. But
SNL All Drug Olympics.
Yeah, that's she's gonna deadlift 1,000 pounds. Wow. Are they kind of more like a underground, or is there like a big federation? I mean, I just other than when we invite you on the podcast, I looked up and I went to the Diesel Crew and I watched all your videos. But like, are they local competitions? Is there some like national governing body? I mean, obviously like Guinness Book of World Records probably comes to some of them, or someone gets certified. So,
what we have is the North American Grip Sport organization. It's at gripsport.org, and it's a group of about 5 or 6 people, including myself, and we work together to kind of manage things. We have rules sets and things like that for the events. If someone wants to have their contest sanctioned to make it a qualifier for the national championship, they have to contact us and go through a few different steps. Generally, the people that run the promotion, the people that promote the contest are people that have competed before, so they have an idea of what the expectations are of a sanctioned contest. Things along those lines. So yeah, we have a governing body, and we're always trying to move the sport forward. Unfortunately, the people who are running the organization also have full-time jobs, so progress ends up being kind of slow and frustrating at times. But it's growing all the time. The sport's growing. The national championship gets bigger each year, and this is. My first contest was in 2003, so there was nothing back then, and now we have what we have, so it is progress.
So, Jedd, with it being kind of like a fringe sport, is there any crossover to other, I guess, like fringe-esque sports like arm wrestling? Do you find that guys are not only competing in the grip sport, but they're also competing in things similar or things that might, require a similar adaptation?
Yeah, that definitely happens. There's one guy that I used to train with quite frequently, and we used to go all over the country to contests. His name's John Eaton. He's a very, very skilled grip sport competitor. He's done a lot of noteworthy grip feats, and lately, ever since Game of Arms came on, he's spent most of his time arm wrestling, and I see he's actually finished very high and even won a couple of arm wrestling competitions that he's been to. So, yeah, there's definitely carryover between grip and arm wrestling, grip and powerlifting, grip and strongman. grip and Highland games, all of those sports that I mentioned, we have competitors that do grip that also do those sports.
So if you have let's say you are a competitor we'll say in the upper 50th percentile, maybe upper 40th percentile in grip competition, are you just guaranteed to be strong? Or are there little skinny Peter Parker dudes that come out there and just have freakish grip strength?
I wouldn't say there's Peter Parker-ish dudes that come out and kick butt at most competitions. Yeah. There is one guy in particular, Cody Burns, who he is the guy that beat my world record in the two-hand pinch. He competes in the 93 kilo class. Mm-hmm. So I mean he's very, very light, and and he's right up there with me. And when I was setting my world records, my body weight was actually up over 270 pounds. So I outweighed the guy by close to 100 pounds, but he was able to equal, my weights. So body weight goes into it, okay? I've never been the guy that went out and said we need weight classes in grip sport, because I actually always felt that it was a lot more dependent upon, your lower arm size, okay? But I saw, how popular or the idea of weight classes were, and I started to change my views, and I think it's actually been a good thing for the sport now that we have the weight classes that we do, and it just allows things to be more competitive across the board, because there are some events out there where a 270 pounder is going to have a tremendous advantage over a 170 pounder without a doubt.
And what is the heavyweight mark? So where does the mark start becoming class?
Yeah, the let's see, you have 120 plus, 120 kilo plus for the unlimited, and then it's under 120 for the heavyweight, and then the next cutoff is 105 kilos. So 105 kilos is 231. That's what I've competed at for about the last year or so was 231, and I won nationals this past year, so I kind of accomplished a big goal of mine at that weight class. So now I'm letting my natural weight come back, and I'm at I was 241 this morning.
I have a question. So with your experience with just general weight training too, in comparison, do you find that, for instance, your gains that you make in traditional powerlifting, is it similar to the gains that you would make in terms of grip strength, meaning that if you take time off, or say you had 4 weeks off, or you injured yourself or something like that, do you find that you lose your gains in a similar fashion and then regain them in the same way, or does the grip strength, does it maintain more so than, for instance, hypertrophy or strength or something like that?
It's pretty similar. I'll tell you, one of the things for me that goes down if I take too much time off or if I get hurt is crushing, is grippers. There's a lot of technique involved, and there's a lot of coordination involved too. A lot of CNS firing that has to take place, and the really heavy grippers. Actually any gripper. The last quarter inch of the range of motion on the gripper is just so hard to cover, and I find that if I take too much time off, I lose that last quarter of an inch. That's the most important quarter of an inch, because the object is to close the gripper, not shut it down to a quarter of an inch. So that one definitely goes quickly, but other than that, I would say it's fairly similar. You get rusty. You can get rusty pretty quick, but at the same time, after a couple of weeks, it usually comes back.
So this is just to nerd out for a second. I'm curious as to why the last quarter inch. I mean, obviously I know why it's important, but why is that the most difficult? You would think with your palm completely splayed out that you are at less of a mechanical advantage than you are when your hand is almost completely closed. That's Callie I'm talking to, right? Yeah, or is it fatigue by the time you get to that point?
No, it's not fatigue. What it is it has to do with the mechanics of the spring on the gripper.
Okay. Okay.
The way that it works is as you pull that front handle closer to the back handle, you're actually spreading the spring apart.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff that's going on there that you're contending with, and that force is greatest at the end of the range of motion.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Yeah. I'm just working with a collar right now with my hand to. So you're you're actively thinking about pulling the front end towards the back end as opposed to just trying to bring them together like equidistant.
Yeah, it's not equidistant. There is some. There is advanced technique that you can use with grippers where you push your thumb forward, but I found that some people just can't figure out how to do it. Mm-hmm. But you can get a lock. You can actually get a lock, I call it a thumb strike, with your thumb so that you can assist that last quarter inch, eighth of an inch using your thumb. If we had video, I could show you exactly what I was talking about, but... Yeah,
we'll look through some of your videos too. I was just checking out your website. Noticed you had a little hashtag going on called Yoketober, which is quite a play on October or Oktoberfest. Yoketober is something I've never heard of.
Yeah, it's something that I just came up with the other day in my head.
I love it.
It's essentially
what I've been doing.
I got it.
The last couple of months, I've been doing a form of specialized training for some body part. And in August, I did August of Arms, where I trained either biceps, triceps, or both every single day through the month. And then September, I did leg timber. So I did some form of leg training almost every day. I actually missed 3 days during September. It was a crazy month for me. But then now in Yoketober, we're doing traps, upper back, shoulders, or triceps, trying to get as big of an increase in the outline as possible.
How's it all going? I mean, how does it feel to specialize like that, like virtually every day?
Well, I was leery about it because I was under the impression that I would probably get overtrained from it.
Sure.
But actually, in August, I'll tell you what, it was the best my elbows have felt in a long time. I generally don't have trouble with my elbows, but every once in a while you wake up and there's a little stitch here or something like that in the elbows. I'm pretty good preventively, but I felt amazing during August. Like I think it's a great idea to specialize now, so that's why I'm continuing to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an old John Wellborn trick. Get those hammer curls every day, keep those elbows fresh, right?
No, my big deal was always doing like banded tricep extensions because I always felt that like driving a bunch of blood into my triceps ended up making my elbows feel better, and then working on those hammer curls. Pretty heavy. Really developed a lot of that kind of like, basically that grip strength. I made a living off of being able to punch my hands, grab as hard as I can, and squeeze. And
whatever you find.
Well, no, I had pretty good precision. Like, I could shoot my hands exactly where I wanted to, and I always aim for the outside of the shoulder pads. And as I would shoot, I would go here and I would squeeze and then rotate my elbows and create torque on the jersey and the deal. And it was always great when like you have that lock on and you're holding on for dear life, and dudes are trying to just pound your arms off them, and you're like, nope, not getting off.
Yeah.
And that was a big part of our stuff. Was developing that grip strength. Things like the farmer carries and also a lot of those hammer curls. Super heavy. You work up to hundreds with hammer curls and hold them for max deal and fat bars. And so we did a lot of that training for a long, long time. The reverse curl fat bar was the motherfucker.
Did you get a lot of holding calls?
Isn't that called the fit? Sorry.
What's that?
Go ahead, Jedd.
Isn't that called the fit when you get in there and grip on the line?
Usually like a fit is, when you come off the ball, they always call like a good fit is like your hat under their hat and like into a good position.
Okay.
The idea of like setting back, like shooting your hands, like we called it like punch and grab. So, but the idea was that you had to be pretty precise and know exactly where your hands were going. And I boxed from the time I was a young kid, so like I was always really good with precision with my hands. I could set back and shoot my hands exactly where I wanted them to. And just looking at like a chest, imagine like the chest of a defender, imagine a steering wheel is what I always pictured. And I wanted my hands to be at 3 and 9. So like I would set back, and like as I was doing it, I would shoot my hands at that 3 and 9. Now obviously you can't do that every time. So then my other ones is I'd be like, okay, I'm going to shoot like a 2 and a 7, and I would shoot one high, and then if I could get them on the top of their shoulder pads and actually like hold the top of their shoulder pad, I would shoot in and try to get them underneath. I mean, to the point where like we knew exactly what the shoulder pads looked like, who was wearing what. I look and I'd be like, okay, those are Rydell's. I know they're going to be, okay, oh, wait, he cut his shoulder pads. And then I'd get into guys that ended up cutting the insides of their shoulder pads back, and they would start tailoring and grinding crap off of their shoulder pads so I couldn't grab it. And I remember going against a guy, and he was like, yeah, I cut my shoulder pads up so you can't grab that plate. And I was like, well, I'm still going to fucking get you.
So to give you guys a visual, John's kind of like miming what he would do and grabbing, and I can't stop thinking about taking a bull by the horns and
oh my god. No, actually that really happened.
Yeah, I mean there's very few things that are more exciting than literally punching and hitting somebody as hard as you can, snatching them up, locking them down, and then watching them trying to get your hands off them like a little kid going.
I like to curl up with a good book, and I find that's
I'll tell you, like it was a great technique and something we used for a long time, and so it's frustrating to watch football now and see these young kids just fucking
slap
shoot
fight?
their heads, fucking dive, fucking lazy hands. And I watch it and like yeah, it's fucking embarrassing. But I'll watch the football. I watch the football with my girls, and they sit there and they look at me when I'm like, "Oh, your dad would have never got beat like that." Oh, and they're pretty funny. They so now they mimic me and they'll like raise their hands when they see a bad play.
Hey, John, did you get a lot of holding calls when you were playing?
No.
That maybe you felt? No?
No, and I'll tell you why. They only get you on holding if you are outside of that steering wheel. So like when you see like a hold is usually like when somebody goes over the top or you're holding on. I was real good about punching, keeping my hands held, and keeping the guy in front of me. Now if
they're getting around you in your hand.
If the guy went around me, then you have to let go.
Yeah.
Or you get holding calls, or you pull or tug, or if you fall down and you pull somebody down on top of you. So there was an idea that as long as I can stay in front of you, punch my hands, and then out-athlete those fat fucks, I was good. And then I would outsmart them by making really strange comments to them. I'd be like, hey, I see your mom's up in the second row. She keeps making it.
Jedd,
my mom's.
Jedd, have you ever been asked to come in and help with some football teams?
No, I've never helped with football teams like on the field, but I actually last year I did put together an ebook for linemen, grip training for linemen, and I could send that to you guys if you wanted to check it out.
We can link that up. If you can send us that.
Send me. I'd love to read it. That's awesome.
What about do you find yourself working with sport athletes?
Yeah, I've got some football players that I train now. I don't have a big facility, guys. I train out of a garage. Yeah. I'm actually looking for a building to get into, but the rent around here is ridiculous. But anyway, that's another whole story. But
what I was gonna ask you.
Where are you based out of?
Maryland?
No, I'm in Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
Where at?
Wyalusing, Pennsylvania.
Where's that? What's that close to?
I guess the closest town would be Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Oh, I know Scranton, PA.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I lived in Philly for 5 years and then lived over in Jersey for a couple of years. So I mean, I know Pennsylvania pretty well.
Tex, what's that race called that we want to do?
The race of the Saints.
Spartan race?
No, it's the race of the Saints. It's the Ubaldo race.
Ubaldo.
St. Ubaldo.
What is that?
Jedd, have you ever heard of that?
I don't know what that is. No.
Okay. Well, we had a guest on.
Jedd, you need to get on our team then.
It was a show at Tom Canabby.
Yeah, we'll send you the link. But I'm checking out your website. You see you work with some basketball, some MMA, and arm wrestling. What is the weirdest sport request or grip help request you've ever received?
I just had somebody write me the other day. They wanted me to take a hot water bottle and blow it up to the point where it almost burst, and then stop, and then send it to them so that they could blow it up the rest of the way.
What the fuck?
What the fuck? What does that mean?
Why? Was it a girl?
That's the old Franco Columbo trick where Franco could like inflate the.
So they're trying to win a bet basically, and they want to put you close to use you to put them close to winning?
I guess. I don't know. The dude was in like Germany or something like that. I don't even know if it was
Germany.
You know, the only problem is if you put it in a box and you shipped it overseas,
it would expand.
It would expand. It would explode. You guys ever seen like a water bottle that would explode?
This guy sounds like a terrorist. If you see something, say something.
Well, I mean, we were thinking maybe like in the porn business, you know, that like
What?
you know, like the double axe handle, maybe you'd work the grip that way. I mean,
Jedd is a professional.
But we aren't.
it's not to say that it's not beyond him.
I don't know what a double axe handle is. A double axe handle to me is you hit somebody with both forearms in the head.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're talking
it.
about.
Yep.
That's it.
Next
I thought
question.
you were talking about porn. All right, go ahead.
Well, you don't know what the weird shit John's into.
Yeah.
Luke Summers is over there doing like a
Here we
double
go.
pepper cracker. I'm like, what are you making salad over there? What's going on?
I was talking about culinary arts, yes.
All right, Jedd, let's help some of our CrossFitters out there. You and I, in our conversation, you had mentioned that well, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I thought you had said something like you had worked with a few, and you had thought that there was like some wrist and elbow issues that they could improve upon to perform better at their sport. Correct?
Yeah, I know a small group of CrossFitters. There's not much CrossFit around this area. There's nothing around this area, to be honest.
Whoa.
As far as CrossFit, the closest thing is in Clark Summit, Pennsylvania, which is probably 45 minutes away. But the one guy that I know, his name is Mark Nolan, and he had a severely messed up wrist for a long time. It was interfering in a lot of his lifts, causing problems, distractions, things like that. And I was able to help him quite a bit with just one technique on his wrist. He said that when he did this, it probably bounced back to like 90 to 95%. Didn't get all the way back to 100%, but it was huge. And I think what happened was he had a subluxation of one of his carpal bones. I think it got out of whack and caused a huge problem with his wrist extension ability. And you guys know, like with the front rack for front squats, for jerks, for overhead stuff, if you can't get into that extended position for your wrist, it hurts so bad that it can be a real distraction on your lift. So I was able to help him out with that. We just did it's called band traction. So you just take like a jump stretch band and you crank it, you choke it around the guy's wrist, and then you also choke it to a nice sturdy surface. And what you do is you kind of just go through different joint manipulations, extension, go through the deviations, kind of do some rows with your arm, things like that. And generally what you do when you line it up properly, you should be able to traction it in a way that whatever bone is out of whack, it gets back into that proper alignment. And it doesn't usually feel good. It doesn't usually feel better right then, but the next day after it's had the opportunity to have all the inflammation get out of there and everything to get back where it's supposed to be, it makes a huge difference.
And you think that is that just like the flexors being stronger than the extensors, or just tight wrists or something, just immobile, just the ability to not create like a front rack or anything like that?
I think it could be either of those things. Generally, when someone writes me and they ask for assistance with their wrist, like nobody trains their extensor muscles of their wrist and their finger. Nobody trains them effectively, so they're in a state of neglect, which leads to weakness. And when you get out of balance between the antagonist muscles, that's when you can have alignment issues take place. Now, sure, trauma can make it happen if you fall on your wrist, whatever, that can happen too, but it can happen over time from neglect of those muscles. So the first thing that I tell people to do is to just start training the extensors and then see if that stimulation pulls everything back into alignment. Then we usually go to the traction, and if one of those things doesn't fix it, then I'm like, just you got to get to a chiropractor and have them check it out, because it may be dislodged so badly, and really dislodged badly might be 1/8 of an inch. I don't even know how much room of space there is to move in there, but you probably need some kind of more advanced help than what the band can provide.
Cool. Hey, John, antagonistic balance, man. Extensor work, Jimmy Buffett's.
Well, not even that. It's we have our Kadaya Killer complex, and something we work on, and talk about the seminar is that everybody works on the grip, but nobody ever works on the extension. So I learned that. I mean, dude, Rolf and I started doing that in 2000, where we used to work on being able to open the hands as wide as we could, and then be able to close, and then we have a whole deal that we do with it in different angles.
If anybody's interested too, go back and look for the articles that I did with Jedd and with Bobby Goodfellow. Yep. And there are 2 programs there to help you guys work on the antagonistic muscle groups and just to create that muscle balance, and also some stuff to help with muscular endurance, because in CrossFit, kind of to segue into that, like what Denny was asking Jedd about, that's a huge component. I mean, grip is one of the first things to fail in things like hang power cleans or pull-ups, particularly for girls. So, you can find some good resources both on Jedd's page and the articles that we did with him in the past.
Jedd, do you find an inverse relationship between grip strength and grip endurance?
It depends on what you're training, I guess.
Yeah, it's all based off your training. If you're training both, then you can have both.
I mean, if you're okay, so like guys that I've had working with me that can't do a lot of pull-ups, we do a combination of weighted pull-ups and then dry pull-ups, because they're able to do more pull-ups overall, but plus they're able to increase kind of their their baseline strength for pull-ups, like that supporting grip function. So we work both, but it's very specific. It depends on what you're training.
So do you? I mean, being an expert or enthusiast in grip strength, do you feel like that term gets bastardized all the time? Like someone's like, "Man, my grip strength sucks," and it's like, "Well, no, it's not your grip strength.
You suck.
You suck."
Yeah, a lot of times people with grip problems have all around lack of strength.
Yeah.
You're like, it's not your grip that's weak, it's you that's weak.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if someone has what I would call a grip problem, it's probably usually has something to do with one particular aspect of their grip is weak. Like maybe they have really bad wrists because they broke their wrist as a kid, or they were in a cast for a while, they lost range of motion in a thumb, and their thumb's messed up, something along those lines. That stuff requires some specific action to take place for the hands.
Right.
But a lot of times people just got to start lifting heavier.
Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, it's one of my biggest pet peeves too, is people basically, using grip and using wrist weakness as an excuse for just not being strong in general. And I understand if your wrists hurt or things like that in the front rack position, or maybe doing a handstand on the wall or whatever. But I firmly believe I usually hear those complaints coming from people who are new to training, and you have to allow that smaller musculature and that smaller joint to catch up, and all of the ligaments and tendons involved to catch up to how much of a jacked badass you are. So
it takes a while. It takes dramatically longer to develop tendon and connective tissue strength than it does muscle strength.
Totally, because if you think about it, it's not an area like that's flooded with blood flow like a muscle is. So it does take a long time to recover as well between training sessions. So yeah, I think the big thing too is people can train grip and train wrist strength, but using it as accessory work. But I think a lot of times with novice lifters, if they think that that's the one thing that's really holding them back, I firmly just believe it's more time under a bar, more time, in a certain position. Would you agree with that, Jedd?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of like our approach to accessory work. It's only necessary after a certain period of time of just basically moving the weight and getting used to the look.
What about genetics? Like that? That's the other one. Like I always wonder, like genetic wise. Like I remember, I cannot remember who. Oh, when I met Bill Kazmaier. Kaz's hands, it was like there was like a straight line from his thumb. So I remember looking at his forearm, it just like went there, like there was no turn here.
No deviation from
yeah,
the
it was
wrist.
crazy. Like his hand just kind of like glued into like this big like pipe.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember looking at him, and I dude just had massive wrists, and dude was super strong, and it's like you always kind of look at people genetically, and I wonder if like
I'm sure
wrist diameter and kind of like how you're put up. I mean, all of a sudden, if like you have a shorter forearm and maybe like a longer humerus head. I mean, we see people all the time that are great benchers that have shorter like from
Humerus,
here,
yeah.
And I was at a seminar, and this guy was doing floor press, and it was crazy. Like from his elbow to his shoulder was so short that like he brought it down. He had to like let it sink into his chest to get his elbows to sit on the ground. And I was like, dude, you should be able to bench the fucking universe.
And Jedd, it reminds me of that guy you were talking about earlier who was in I think he said the 97 kilo weight class or 91, and how he surpassed your grip record, and it just makes me think maybe there are some outliers out there due to biomechanical advantages and I guess
Genetics.
Joint angles, genetics, that puts them in a position to where they can really optimize like the sport.
Well, I mean, that's possible. I don't want to take anything away from this guy because he's proven by far that he works his ass off harder than most people do, and
Sure.
probably even me. So I don't want to say, I don't want to pin it on him that he's a genetic wonder. The dude just trains hard, and he, in grip, unfortunately, a lot of people don't make the investments that they could in order to make their improvements, okay? And this guy is not afraid to buy the equipment that he needs in order to train the event. He owns the implement that is used in competition. So
imagine that.
Yeah, imagine if you had to carry a yoke at a competition, like an actual strongman yoke, but you were too cheap to buy the yoke, so you were just going to put a barbell on your back. It's not the same. You know what I mean?
Right.
So this guy, there are genetic outliers out there, and he may have some genetic things that help him. I just don't want everybody to think that that's the only reason why. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah, I gotcha.
But
Jedd,
one thing.
sorry.
One thing that is one thing you can't argue with as far as genetics, and someone mentioned Kaz's thumb. There's a thing that I call a 180. So like if you open your hand up as far as you can and try to separate your thumb and your pinky apart from one another.
We're all doing it.
If you can get them into like a straight line, it's called a 180. And most people can't do that. But if you can do that, it's a tremendous advantage for things like block weightlifting, which block weightlifting is one of the things that Bobby Goodfellow was real good at when he did a lot of grip. So I would assume that he can probably open his hand up to a 180 pretty well or pretty close.
Is it the tip of your thumb or?
No, it's like if your little finger and your thumb make a straight line.
I got it.
No.
I got it too.
Honestly, none of us.
Look at that.
No.
Look at that.
No.
I call it
Hold your
165.
hand down like this.
I can get 180 to the tip of the thumb.
Pretty close. Hold on.
No.
Look at that. Look at that. Look at that.
I'm there.
Look
No,
at that
Luke is
one.
the only
Look
one.
at that one.
No.
Barely. Get out of here.
Fuck you.
I'm
Callie just can't admit it because like she just has to be the no person on the
What?
podcast.
No, it's true.
It's the only place she says no.
See, look what you started, Jedd. We're
Nope,
fighting.
happy.
Mom and Dad are fighting.
I've got 100,000 people looking at their hands right now.
What, Jedd? Oh, Tex, go.
Yeah, Jedd, I'm just curious about warm-ups for not only kind of training, or how about your competition? If you're only doing grip in a competition, what's your warm-up approach? You deadlifting or doing anything crazy?
Yeah, dude, I'm doing multi-joint exercises just like I was getting ready for a powerlifting meet or a strongman contest. Yep.
Any tips? Oh,
I
sorry.
generally start out with a full body general warm up using foam rollers and different dynamic warm up exercises, just body weight. Some light stretching, dynamic stretching, not just static stretching, but dynamic stuff. I'm looking to get blood flowing into the hips, getting everything moving and getting blood flowing through the joints. And then I'll go to a barbell and I'll start working all the multi-joint movements, standing press, squats, bent over rows, things along those lines. So it starts real general with just body weight, real general with barbell weight. Then I start adding weight to the bar, and I begin doing squats. And generally through the first event, I'm squatting right before each attempt. Generally in a grip contest, the first event is grippers. And if you see the videos that I have online for the North American Grip Sport Championship this year, you'll see that I'm closing grippers with this big powerlifting belt on. We're like, what are you getting on your grippers with the belt, man? I'm like, dude, I'm doing squats right before my gripper attempt, and there's no way I'm going to sit there and fight with a belt, a big powerlifting belt, before I do grippers. So, you know,
it's pretty funny, you know.
Yeah, your YouTube coaches probably have plenty of coaching advice for you.
Well, it's where you get all the best coaching. It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
Everybody's an expert.
I think it's
The lowest level of human being is the person that comments on a YouTube video.
I think it's interesting that you use like a powerlifting, the powerlifting movements as a warm-up, but in our conversation yesterday when we talked about like would you train a powerlifter to strengthen his grip, you had felt that you wouldn't. And then you kind of talked a little bit about when you went out to Westside. John's been out there. He might be able to comment on some of the stuff that he had seen too as far as like power lifters and grip strength. But can you just kind of we'll revisit that conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially
if I wanted to ask you, I'm a power lifter. Would you train me in grip to improve my powerlifting?
I would not train you in grip sport to bring up your powerlifting. I would not train you with an axle to bring up your deadlift grip. I would train you on the bar, and I would do certain lifts with the bar that are kinetically modified in order to target in on your hands in the deadlift. Okay, so one thing would be like I would load the bar up with tremendous band tension and have you perform deadlift lockouts in a cage against that tremendous band tension.
Yeah.
Because
with double overhand grip or any grip that I want?
No, I would just have you could do double overhand grip, but I would most likely have the person do alternated grip.
Yeah, whatever they're going to use in competition.
Whatever they're going to use in a competition.
Exactly. Now, what I will say this right now. I have never dropped a deadlift due to a lack of grip strength, and I do think it has something to do with my large hands. But at the same time, I do a tremendous amount of double overhand work on my pulls. So I'm talking about just regular deadlifts with a regular bar. Things like bent over rows and things like that. The pull-ups that I do, I never go alternated on anything. So when I do go alternated in a competition or something like that, it's no problem. It's no problem for me. So to a degree, you could focus on double overhand, but I think I've done that for years. I wouldn't want to build a deadlifter's grip strength up and take years to do it. I would want to do it in just a matter of weeks. So what I would do is I would focus on like overloading the area of the deadlift where they consist.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's like such a smart and easy approach. I mean, you don't need to geek out on all these like super crazy grip strategies.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense for someone who is having trouble deadlifting a bar to go do thick bar training.
Yeah.
And the reason why
I hear that, or somebody might suggest that.
That the problem is people. It's like YouTube geniuses. People give instruction on shit they don't know about. And it ends up throwing people off. I've talked to at least a half dozen people who said, I just worked on thick bar for 6 months because you told me to work thick bar to bring up my grip strength, and my deadlift didn't go up at all. I'm still dropping deadlifts. And I'm like, I didn't tell you to work thick bar to bring up your deadlift grip. I told you to work thick bar because it increases grip strength in a general sense, But I've never told anybody to work thick bar, not that I recall, work thick bar for deadlifting. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, in terms of especially like if someone's a sports-specific athlete, you're going to have them use their sports-specific implements for the majority of their training, and you overload those implements in the ways that you're talking with the band tension and stuff. And to me, that makes a lot of sense. Although I can hear a lot of people saying out there that to avoid accommodation, but you're talking about using the implement, you would never try and throw a rugby ball the way you throw a football to get better at throwing a football,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all going along the same lines. If someone's going to use if I have a power lifter and they're going to use stick bar, I would say like throw fat grips on when you're doing some rows or something, or use a thick bar when you're doing pull downs. But I wouldn't modify the deadlift in pretty much any way because when you use an axle even, it's changing the center of gravity of the bar. It's actually pulling it out away from you. So it changes the movement there too. So not only are your hands getting a different stimulus, but the mechanics of the lift get changed. I'll tell you, I'm real good friends with a guy. I don't know if you guys know Rob Pilger, but been friends with him for years. He's primarily like he comes from boxing, but he also does a lot of powerlifting, and he trains at Westside. And Denny had asked about me going to Westside. I've never actually gone to Westside, but I did have the opportunity to ask Louis Simmons if he had his guys at Westside train for grip strength at all. This was way back in, I would say, 2002 when I first found out about grip strength competitions, and he said no. He didn't even blink an eye. He said, no, I don't do any grip with my guys because it wears out their CNS.
Sure, yeah.
So they don't do any extra work. But at the same time, these guys are doing super heavy deadlifts with chains hanging off the bar, with they're pulling against band tension. So in reality, he is doing
it,
but
yeah.
It's grip integration work. It's not grip isolation work. So that's where Westside comes into the whole thing. I just had Rob ask Louis again like 6 months ago, and he said, no, we don't do any fat bars in our training.
So as far as like CNS recovery, in the one article that I've read of yours that was posted on the Art of Manliness,
right.
That one, you had mentioned that, sometimes people can carry grip training and do it every single day. You had suggested maybe 3 times a week. If you were to do that every single day, how bad would that hamper your recovery ability?
It would depend on how hard you're working. If you're killing it like I would do in one workout, and you're doing that every day, dude, you're gonna get fizzled out like in a hurry. But if you're just doing like a few sets, or you're building thick bar into some of your pulls or something like that, it's probably not going to affect you too bad. I know that my worst, the times where I felt it's affected me most negatively is when I've been doing a lot of pulling on a knurled bar. Like the knurled bar digs into my skin, it irritates my skin, and somehow like messes with my nerves or something, man. And it gets to be really, really uncomfortable, and so I try to minimize my contact with a knurled bar sometimes, and I'll do like bench press with an axle, or with my log, if I feel like if I'm preparing for nationals and I've got a lot of work that I need to focus on for grip sport, then I will I'll get rid of knurled bars and just go with smooth bars for a while.
Nice, dude.
Okay.
Well, hey, Denny, we're coming up on that time. Let's get a couple of our canned questions. So, Jedd, when you're training or if you're warming up and you're at a grip competition and you're going to get jacked or you're going to get pumped, we do a little playlist for each of our guests and we post it up on Spotify. What would be the 4, 5, 6, 7 tracks that you would put in there to be sure that if you had to crush a human skull, you could crush it?
I saw this. I looked at like the plan for the interview, and I'm glad I saw that because I went back and I looked on my playlist on my phone, and one song that always works for me. I don't know why. Is "Small Victory" by Faith No More.
Yeah.
Small Victory. Is that on their Epic album?
It's on Angel Dust.
Oh, old school.
Yeah, it's on Angel Dust. Dude, I'm Faith No More, Faith No More's biggest fan.
Nice.
Maybe not quite. Dude, I'll tell you what. Have you guys ever heard the song "Perfect Crime" by Faith No More? It was on the Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey album.
Probably. Because that movie's in my...
It's slipping my mind.
Okay, slipping your mind. Well, that was the music for that song was actually used in another Faith No More song called "Sweet Emotion." That's okay. I just wanted to work that into the interview. I like Megadeth "Symphony of Destruction" and Megadeth. I got 3 Megadeth: "Symphony of Destruction," "A Secret Place," which was on the Cryptic Writings album, and "Addicted to Chaos," which I think that was on the Euthanasia album. I'm not sure. My theme song when I come out at grip contests, my theme song is.
Oh my God.
Tyler, what? Sorry.
No, nothing. I can't wait. I'm excited to hear what this
Well,
is.
yeah. No. Should we take everybody get a guess?
Can we guess? Because we didn't hear you when you said it. So,
Yeah.
Ladies first.
Is it something by Bonnie Raitt? Just kidding.
You got to guess.
All right. I don't know. Cliche. Welcome to the jungle.
I'm gonna go.
Kari's like no.
I don't know. Pump Up the Jam. CNC Music Factory.
That's not his jam.
That's actually a fairly good.
Not based on his other
I don't even know if that's
repertoire.
accurate.
None of this is.
Yeah, we're talking Faith No More and some old school Megadeth.
Denny, go.
Hit the Lights by Metallica.
No, I'm not a big Metallica fan. I'm more Megadeth. They kicked Dave Mustaine out.
Kicked him out. Yeah.
Dude, yeah, they booted Mustaine because Lars was a little bitch, but I believe Hetfield is on record saying that if Mustaine and them ever reunited, they would take over the world. So I think everybody always hoped that Mustaine would come back to it.
I thought we were taking over the world.
I don't know, man. I'd probably go with "I Got the Power" by Snap, but I know that's not it.
I got the power.
Fucking, that was my jam. I still fucking listen to that song.
So don't leave us in suspense. What is it?
The band is Coal Chamber,
Oh,
Chamber.
dude, fuck yeah.
and the song.
Oh, dude, fuck yeah.
The Roof is on Fire.
The roof is on fire?
No. They do call my name. My wrestling name is Napalm, but it's not. The Roof is on Fire. It's Tyler's song.
Oh,
Danny, you don't know that song.
Napalm.
I don't know that song, but when I
And
started...
then he's like, oh! Like you were going to guess that next.
Well, no, Diesel Crew, Coal Chamber has that song Big Truck. That's a great intro. I mean, heavy metal right down your mouth right at the beginning.
That's a good song too. I'll tell you. That's a good one. But
I seen Coal Chamber with Seven Dust, 1999.
Seven Dust.
Seven Dust.
I actually saw John Welborn there.
John Welborn went on tour with Seven Dust.
I know, it reminds me, last week we had Eddie Ifft on, and he talked about how you always have the one-up story on anything anybody can say.
And I'm not a one-upper person at all. I'm not a one-upper person, but I did.
But that reminds me.
I did party with Seven Dust on Hollywood Boulevard at the House of Blues, and ended up on their tour bus to Vegas and hit 3 shows.
No big deal.
No big deal.
No big deal.
So, Jedd, I got one more question for you. I don't know if you're a big movie fanatic or see movies, but understanding the strength it takes to hold a certain amount of weight, just picking it up. Do you ever find yourself like, oh, come on! Like with that, oh, come on attitude, where somebody the movie Transformers 2 is coming to mind, where fucking
God.
Shia LaBeouf catches his girlfriend falling 40 feet, free fall, just catches her hand and hangs on. I'm like, no way.
It's love.
That's
Love
he must have been doing some grip integration training. That would be tremendous eccentric support ability.
Yeah.
Dude. Do you find yourself just knowing that, like, and maybe people's claims or watching movies, you're like, this is fucking bullshit?
Oh yeah, absolutely, man.
Cliffhanger. Stallone hanging on to that chick from the
No,
highway.
that was real though. That's
Dude,
a
what about where
documentary.
he's like on the side of the rock face with like one hand?
All Stallone would have had to do in order to maintain his grip on that lady is touch his tongue to the roof of his mouth.
There you go. Close chain.
It
Close
would have
chain.
stabilized his neck. It would have stabilized his shoulder. It's like almost like a Valsalva maneuver for the neck.
Yeah, but you know when Sly Stallone talks, his tongue is like just barely hanging out of his mouth.
Don't you say anything about that man. That man's a saint.
He's a saint.
Sly Stallone is a saint.
Yeah.
All right.
Watch your tongue.
Well, hey, Jedd, thanks, man. You can stay on the line a little bit longer, but we're going to do some plugs. Before we jump in, do you have anything you want to plug?
Yeah. What's this month? Yoketober.
Yeah, this month is Yoketober. Check it out at dieselcrew.com. It's the top post. And if anybody needs help with their grip, I help people all the time. I do coaching, and I've helped a lot of people out to improve their grip for their sports, not just for ripping stuff and tearing stuff either. It's like I've worked with other athletes that have needed help on their deadlift and strongman training and things like that. So just look me up.
So where should they find you on like Facebook or Twitter, or hit you up through your website or email or something?
Yeah, mainly go through dieselcrew.com. The other thing, I have my instructional site on grip is thegripauthority.com.
Awesome.
Nice.
The Grip Authority, and that's where I do like mass coaching, but I also do one-on-one coaching too. So look forward to working with people.
Awesome, man. Hey, thanks for taking the time.
Thank you.
Thanks, dude.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You got it. So, John, we got a little Wade's Army update. Tex had to jump off to go torture some kids. Field Strong Thursday over there in D.C. We're at $28,750 raised, 48% to go. October 14th. October 14th, last day to get your cert.
So last year at this time, we were at around $21,000. So we're already like $7,000 ahead of where we were. I'm starting to get a little nervous. I mean, I'm so excited that we're at this place and we're actually ahead of schedule and close to our goal. But I'm a little nervous because this is a buttload of shirts. Yeah, and you remember what we did last year. Well, I packed those shirts with love.
System. We'll be out of town.
With
Tex
love.
comes into town and he figures it out.
Yeah, with love. I packed them with love. But it got to the point where I packaged something like 663 shirts.
734.
Oh, it was crazy. I was but you know what? It's worth doing and it's part of our deal. But yeah, we're really excited. So if you want to jump on.
So bring it back a little bit further because in case we get some people from Jedd's audience.
Okay, so Wade's Army is our 501c3 that we created. It's a nonprofit that is purely dedicated to fighting neuroblastoma, which is a pediatric cancer that develops in brain tissue and tissue of the central nervous system. So it usually strikes kids under the age of 2. If a child contracts neuroblastoma and they're able to get through their first fight on it, they have a pretty good chance of survival. But if it comes back a second time, it's got about a 90% chance of taking them. So
extremely high death rate.
It's a scary deal. And there's only a few places in the country that actually treat and deal with neuroblastoma. So a lot of parents, their child comes down with it, they have to get in their car and drive. And so we ended up going out and helping some of the families, with the burden and also fund some of the research. I mean, we donated a pretty good chunk of dough last year, and we were so excited, only to realize that a trial for one of these experimental deals costs like $150,000. So we realized like we were nowhere near where we needed to be. So we started the charity, the nonprofit. We're doing the Wade's Army Drive, and Wade's Army is named in memory of Wade DeBruyn, who was the little boy of Heather and Scott DeBruyn, who are friends of my wife. So when this whole thing was going down with Wade, we watched it play out on Facebook as my wife was pregnant with twins. And what really hit home is Wade is a twin, or was a twin, and left his little sister behind. So at that point, we realized, hey, we got to do something. And the first year we came out, we just sold shirts, donated money. Last year we did the same deal, and this year when we started the charity, we're kind of going full and being able to raise as much as we can. Now, for those of you listening, the team to join is Team Wellborn.
That's bold.
If you join and support Team Wellborn,
Don't do it.
Don't go to the dark side.
And Team Wellborn is the top team fundraiser. There will be a special gift from John Wellborn. So if you want to be on Team Wellborn,
no, don't listen.
You cannot fall through with that. Promise.
Listen,
I will. I am packing the shirts. I will find out who's Team Wellborn, and they will get something special.
You cannot make that promise.
I've gotten this gift. It's a punch. It's a punch in the face.
Yeah.
So don't do it.
Nope. It's something special. It'll be in there. So
for those of you who are strapped
Wellborn
for cash, and if that's just absolutely impossible for you, you can't get involved that way. Here's how you can get involved. Help spread the word. Share any of the stuff. Go to Facebook. Like the Facebook page, Wade's Army. Share anything. Try to build your own fundraising page. To build your own page is free. So if you're well connected and you don't have any money, then it's time to start a campaign and get your rich friends over there to throw in $10.
We call it networking in the biz.
Yeah, Team Wellborn. Team Wellborn. You can find me. Just go on there, Team Wellborn.
No.
So yeah, but it's a great cause, and it's tax deductible, and it's and on top of it, you get a really kick-ass T-shirt that we've designed, and you get to join Wade's Army and wear your shirt. And then also November 11th, we have Wade's Day, where we do the workout that we were talking about earlier called Wade. And we started it a couple years ago on CrossFit Football, and now that it's kind of growing, now we're going to get gyms that are doing Wade and start really pushing this deal and just really bring a lot of attention. Heather and Scott, Scott in particular, is training over in New Jersey where they're from, so he's trained to be able to do his son's deal. And I remember when we came up with the workout, he was it was kind of a deal where he was, wanted to do the workout to commemorate his son, but, wasn't necessarily up to the level because, when I created this thing, it was obviously for...
It's not an easy workout.
It is highly grip intensive.
It's a son of a bitch. It's one-arm dumbbell power snatches and pull-ups, and it's a nasty workout. So he trained for it and struggled with it, and this year we got him with a trainer. Tech set him up, and that dude is gonna go out and crush it. I mean,
yeah, he's stoked.
Yeah, he's stoked. I mean, that's awesome. So
and then Denny, you got people like Denny. You're putting together a whole competition to contribute, right?
Dude, I'm so excited about that. We got like 23 more days where you can register for it. We're calling it the Bonnie and Clyde competition. We're looking for like the best. We want a team of male and a female, right? Hence the name Bonnie and Clyde. We're going to put you through like 6 events with the 7th one to be announced the day of. And all the proceeds are going to go to my Wade's Army page.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah.
You son of a bitch.
I put a big high goal for myself this year, and I think this is going to help me achieve it. So far, we're getting a lot of registration. People are excited about it.
Well, little do you guys know, the entire Power Athlete Team Series is going to benefit my page.
Lucky.
The Imperial Forces fighting the dark side.
Who's giving money?
It's just people.
We got your bank card. It's fine. Everything's fine. But so get on to people. Thanks for the support. Like I said, every little piece counts. If you can throw in a dime or two, or at the very least, share some of our posts and get the word out.
It really does, man. When you start kind of putting the word out there, you start getting responses from people who know people who either went through something similar or they actually have gone through, somebody who had neuroblastoma. And like Luke keeps saying, every little bit counts.
So Wade'sArmy.org and Wade's Army.
Our big fundraiser last year, our biggest fundraiser, they're back in, and I believe it was his nephew or his I think it was his nephew battled neuroblastoma and ended up losing his battle, and like he came in strong, and that guy kicked ass. And,
they had a whole family event.
It was big. I mean, so we have Power Athlete Nation, we got the CrossFit Football Nation, and if you listen to this and you're not donating, we will come find you.
Yeah, because we actually do track all that stuff.
Yeah, we have your phone numbers and your IP
Somehow
addresses.
We figured it out.
We have cameras that can see in your deal.
But the police couldn't get my stuff back when it was on.
Well, I just want to know how the police can't get your stuff back, but yet a hacker can get into chicks' phones and get their naked pictures.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So the moral story is, don't take naked pictures on your phone.
Thanks for listening,
Yeah.
Callie.
Callie. I don't even want to see what's in that thing. It's probably food. Small feet.
I have nothing. I don't know what to say about it.
All right.
That's
Let's wrap
it.
up. Good show. Good show.
Do you
And
pick some food in your phone?
what do we got next week, Denny?
What do you have?
Maro Di Pasquale.
Yeah.
It's Morrow's next week?
It's Maro next week.
Yep. So we got Marlo next week, and then if you're in SoCal and you're up to the challenge on Saturday and you want to have a great time, I'll be emceeing Power Athlete Team Series 2014 event, The War, and you will get my A game. I've been working on this routine for 3 years. 3 years. We're gonna go into the what's the deal.
Only 7 years to go till it's perfected.
Ladies and germs. Boys, just line on.
Is it the same routine that I saw you do at the Lantern?
Yeah, the one where he says, "I got your nose," and that's
Yep.
it.
And then there's a little shirt swap involved.
Dude, that one works with the kids nonstop.
Okay.
So if you're under the age of 3, you can get them with that.
I got your nose.
That's it. Let's wrap it up.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, you guys. Bye.
See ya later.
See ya.